Best ways to create better relationship with food.
Yeah, that's really good. So you have to start out, and this is a long process, and so I'm going to communicate this a little differently. So anytime you learn anything, and that's what you're trying to do, you're trying to learn a new relationship with food. Anytime you learn anything, there's 4 stages of learning that you go through, and the first stage is that you're unconsciously incompetent, right? So you don't know what you don't know. So you move into a new space or learning something new, and you don't know what you don't know, and you get to the next stage kind of quickly, which is now you become consciously incompetent. You go, oh, okay, look, all this stuff I don't. So now you're aware of what you don't know. Okay. The third stage takes a little time to get to, and this is where you become consciously competent, meaning I have to actively make myself competent in whatever I'm trying to learn. So, like when you learn the language at first, you have to think of the word in English before you can say it in the other language, and you have to consciously be competent in this new language that you're learning. Eventually, when you do it long enough, you get to the fourth stage, which is this is where you want to be, which is unconscious competence, right? So, uh, blinking, breathing, walking,
Muscle
right?
memory.
Right. It's just you don't have to think about it. You're unconsciously competent in that particular skill. So this is true when it comes to your relationship with food. Our relationship with food is largely, especially in modern Western developed societies, is largely based off of one value, and that is the palatability of the food. Okay, how fun and tasty and enjoyable it is to eat. This is where we derive most of our relationship with food. So if you talk to your friends and your friends say, hey, let's get some lunch, and all right, what do you feel like eating? Let's get Mexican. You're like, oh no, I kind of feel like something else. What about Chinese? I don't know if I want Chinese. How about Mediterranean? Yeah, let's get Mediterranean. So most of us base our decisions on food on palatability. Okay. Now, palatability is one value of food. It's a value. It's not one that we need to discard. It's important, but it's only one of the many values that food provides, right? Here's some of the other values that food provides. Obviously, the health and physiological effects. How does this affect my body, my energy, my digestion, my recovery? Okay, so how does it affect me physiologically? There's also, how does this affect me culturally, or how does this affect me with the people around me? There are foods that we eat at particular celebrations, right? We have birthday cake at birthdays. We eat popcorn at the movies, right? So there's value in food in bringing people together as well, right? A glass of wine with friends can have a much different meaning than a glass of wine or by yourself.
Be the weirdo drinking Diet Coke.
Yeah, right.
Subconsciously, they're like, why don't we like Jim?
Yeah, exactly. So there's lots and lots. My point is there's lots of values around food. And the first step is to become aware of all of the values, not just the palatability. So in order to do this, it's a little bit methodical, but you have to pay attention to the state of feeling you will have before, during, and after you eat. Okay. How do I feel right now? And really think about this. I like to tell people to write this down. Sounds like it's a pain in the ass, but writing things down, it's a great way to think because we tend to not get into thought loops. So it's like, okay, I'm hungry, or it's a craving. It's more of a craving. I feel like eating this. And you don't have to change anything, just be honest. And then while you're eating, make sure you're not distracted. So no phone, no TV, no, magazine. Just be present with your food. This allows you to kind of understand what's happening inside of.
But Sal, I'm watching Mind Pump while I'm eating this ribeye.
That's the only thing that I'll say is exception. You can watch. No, but you don't. You want to stay as present as possible. So eat your food. Be present. Try not to drink any water while you eat because that tends to speed up the process. Just chew your food, be present, and then afterwards take a few notes. How do I feel? Okay. Start there. That process alone, just doing that alone, starts to move you into a bit of a different direction. What you start to notice is, wow, that bagel I ate every morning, I think that might be what makes me feel a little bloated. Or I notice I get an energy dip after I have the soda that I have every single day. Or, wow, it looks like when I'm stressed out, I like to reach for potato chips, right? So you start to make these connections and you start to kind of figure things out, right? The next step would be to start to identify trigger foods or foods that you tend to reach for the most to self-medicate, typically when you're stressed, anxious, tired, or when you don't feel good, and to just create a barrier between yourself and that food. Not to not have it, but rather create a barrier. So let's say the food that you reach for, I'll use myself as an example. One of the foods that I have trouble, if I start eating, I'll just go until I hate myself, are potato chips. I love potato chips. Okay.
Doritos?
Lay's potato chips.
Lay's,
Yeah, just
Lay's.
good old Lay's, right? So what I do is I don't say I can never have Lay's potato chips. Is I don't have them in the house, and I say, look, if I really want them, I'll drive a mile down the street, go to the store, and buy myself a single serving of Lay's potato chips. Now, what does that barrier do? That barrier just gives me enough time to allow me to become aware. That's all. Doesn't guarantee it, by the way, because I can become very aware. I can maintain unawareness in the car to the grocery store on the way back, right? But at least it gives me some space. It allows awareness. It gives awareness a chance to creep in. And that awareness oftentimes will make you say, do I really want that? Or, maybe I don't, or let me try something else, right? So start doing that with your trigger foods. The next step would be to start to change a few things based off of what you've become aware of, but really to start with small changes. Pick something that is something that you can change, that you can maintain forever. So that's important. What can I do now that I think realistically I can maintain forever, but also make sure it's a little challenging. Otherwise it doesn't have any meaning. Okay. So, can I just drink water every single day? Is that something I think I can do realistically forever? If your answer is yes, then I'll start there. And once that becomes second nature, once that becomes habit, then you move on to something else. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now, what that looks like is you slowly start to make bigger changes over time. You start to develop the skill of discipline. You start to become more aware. And here's my favorite part. You start to create cravings based on the other values of food. So I'll give you an example for myself. I identified years ago. So I'll sometimes battle with digestive and gut issues. If I'm ever unwell, it's my gut that I will have the problem. So I identified years ago that if I eat a large serving of well-cooked vegetables, so like really like boiled broccoli or well-cooked asparagus, my digestion is incredible. Now, do I love the taste of broccoli and asparagus? I mean, I do now, but I never did before. And it's definitely not as tasty as pizza or a cheeseburger.
Not really.
No. but what I did is I connected it to this improved digestion. So when I go travel, let's say I'm going to go be on a bunch of podcasts, and like recently I went to Texas and then to Florida. When I came home, what I craved the most was a big bowl of well-cooked vegetables. I literally craved those. Now, it's not because of the palatability, but because of the other benefits that it brings me that I allowed myself or worked on becoming aware of. And I literally craved it. I didn't want pizza. Now, that doesn't mean you don't identify that the pizza is going to taste good. It just means I don't want it because I know what that pizza is going to bring me aside from just, being tasty, right? Because look, here's what separates humans from animals. We don't walk around just acting on every whim or desire. We just don't do that, right? What makes us different is that we understand past, present, future. We make decisions based off those things. We can plan, we can schedule, right? If you're a good man and you're married, you don't go screwing a bunch of, random chicks because, yeah, sexually that might be fun, but totally not worth the trade-off. I don't want to, right? I know it'll feel good and fun in the moment, but do I really want to? No, I don't, right? I know if I go do a bunch of, I may know that I go do a bunch of heroin and probably feel real good for a few hours, but do I really want to do that? No, because I value these other things more. So this is how you start to develop a different relationship with food. It does take time. It isn't linear. You tend to take a couple steps back, before you take a few steps forward. But over time, you start to develop this different relationship. And what it does is it naturally builds balance. So, and what I mean by that is, if I'm going to go hang out with my friends, I haven't seen them for a while, and what's important to me at the moment is connecting with my friends. I'm going to have some wine. I might have some pizza, and we're going to have some fun. But most of the time, I'm probably going to eat healthy foods because most of the time, that's what I'm valuing.